This was at the time of our summer exams. We finished the big exams, and after the exams, with my classmates, we went out to enjoy a beer or two, as you do if you're an English student. So we enjoyed our beers, had a couple more beers, and then finally, late at night, we find ourselves in an Indian restaurant enjoying a curry, as English students do. And one of my friends said, "Hey, tomorrow is the summer solstice. It's June 21st, the longest day of the year. Why don't we go to see the sunrise at Stonehenge?" This is the ancient, famous monument in England. People often go to see the sunrise on the solstice. So I said, yeah, let's go. As it turned out, only two of us were stupid enough to do this. That was my friend and I. And we set off on our bicycles. And sometime around 3 o'clock in the morning, we were starting to sober up. And we were in the English countryside, in the middle of nowhere. There's no houses, there's no street lights. There's just dark fields and sleeping cows. We're on our bicycles, and I go round a bend, and the handlebars on my bike start to feel a bit strange. So we stop, and the handlebar breaks off. But part of the handlebar is still fixed to the bike, and the other part is in my hand. No problem. We were engineering students. We could fix this. We found a small tree, got a Swiss Army knife, cut off a branch, and we plugged that into the open hole of the handlebars, got the other part, plugged it on, and carried on going. And this is not a story about seeing the sunrise at Stonehenge, but let me just tell you how the rest of that day did go on. We carried on heading up north to get to Stonehenge. As we carried on, slowly the sky started to lighten and become grey, so we go faster. And slowly the sky turned that rosy golden hue as we headed north to Stonehenge. That morning the sun was rising in the west, which is very unusual. It turned out, well, as engineering students we were very good at solving engineering problems, but for directions we were useless. We were going completely the wrong way. We never did get to Stonehenge to see the sunrise. But we got a great story. And eventually we got back home, and I got back to my student room and got in and fell asleep. But before I did, I wheeled my bike into the room to leave it in the room, as English students do. Which was a mistake, because the room was warmer. And that piece of wood that was in my handlebars got warmer and started to dry out. And when wood dries out, it shrinks. A couple of days later, I'm with my friends and we're cycling somewhere, and we're young lads, so we're cycling fairly fast. And I'm cycling along, and that piece of wood holding my handlebars together suddenly stops holding my handlebars together. And all of a sudden, the handlebar's off, but it's in my hand. And I'm thinking, maybe this is bad. And because I'm going fast, my weight is forward, and I start going forward. And I think, this is probably bad. So I just threw the handlebar away. But I forgot, because of the brake cables and the gear cables, the handlebar was still connected to the bike. So instead of just bouncing off down the road, it bounced forward into the front wheel of my bike. And I thought, this is bad. And I was right. Because ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've ever had something bounce into the front wheel of your bike, but there's two things that happen. One, the bike stops suddenly.
Yeah.
Two, you, the rider, you don't stop. You carry on going. I remember flying into the air, down, hitting the ground, and rolling. And that time my feet were in toe clips. They were still attached to the bicycle. And I remember looking up with a clear blue sky and seeing my bicycle fly perfectly straight line over my head. But one of my friends behind me said it's one of the best bike crashes he'd ever seen. So what did I learn from that? I said I'd share with you what I learned. Well, I learned if you have some big exams, and after the big exams you go out with some friends and have a few beers and then a couple more beers, such that late at night you wind up in an Indian restaurant enjoying a curry with your friends, and one friend says, hey, tomorrow is the summer solstice, why don't we go out and go to Stonehenge? And on the way you go out and you're in the darkness in the middle of the night and your handlebars break and you cut down a small tree and jam that into the handlebars and jam your other handlebar on, then remember, you might have an accident. Or, ladies and gentlemen, to put that another way, riding bikes is fun, but be careful, it's easy to fall off them.